right, welcome back. How you doing, Coach?
Dude, I'm wonderful. It is a beautiful mid-50s, soon-to-be 60s day here in Overland Park, Kansas. Not a cloud in the sky. I feel good. It's Valentine's Day, too, apparently. It's also
happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, same to you. Same to you. I sent you a candy cane filled with chalked hearts with words on them, like hurry slowly. And... yeah, things like that. So you should be getting that in the mail soon. But it's February
lost my key
15th.
to the mailbox. So
that's right.
If I don't respond, 15th. Don't worry.
That's right. Well, sometimes the best conversations are left unsaid. But it is February 14th. The year is 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody, and welcome back. You're listening to the Crushing Iron Podcast, and this is episode 748.
You got it, man. I'm glad the weather's nice here. I just pulled out my phone to see what it was because I haven't been outside, and because that's what we do. And it says winter weather advisory. But the good news is that the ice is melting on the lake. So you know what that means. Opportunity.
Back to plunging.
Opportunity. 2 days in a row. Leaning on the ice.
Hey, can I make a request?
Sure. Stop talking about that.
No.
Oh.
Can I get a little more kudos for my plunging this last weekend?
Well, I mean, it's coming. I'll give you some. All right, listen.
Coming. I even went down there by myself one day.
I know. One day I came back and you're like, I said, "What are you doing?" You go, "Well, I got to get in the plunge. I got to get going before I
decide not to go.
Talk myself out of it." I mean, that's always the case. It's always the case.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you got down there, man.
Yeah, it really isn't that cold.
What? Plunging?
I mean, it's cold, but I'll tell you this right now. Doing that, way easier than trying to take a cold shower.
There's no doubt about that.
I mean, it was
moving through the water.
I'm thinking I can barely do these cold showers I'm doing. I'm gonna get in this water, chest deep, waist deep, whatever. I'm gonna freeze them. I'm like, this is so much easier, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, it was. But I enjoyed it. So yeah, maybe you can get some plunging in. That'll be nice for you. I'm sure much needed and appreciated with the body this week. Yeah,
I mean, I got right back. It was opening up on, I guess, Monday, and I was like, damn it. Because it was like, but I walked over there and got in. I felt pretty good. I mean, there's ice everywhere except for a little patch. Yeah. So it's still in the like mid-30s, the water. Oof. So
it's meant to be, man.
It's a little different, but it definitely, I don't want to go too deep into that, but I think it, between that and the saunas, it kind of got me through the weekend with well undertrained.
Well, I think pretty much everyone was undertrained going in this last weekend, which was the reason we were gone last week. We did make a short, brief announcement. Not that you guys missed us that much, but I'm sure some of you did. But we were out all last week, decided not to podcast. We had our run camp that started on Tuesday, went all the way through Sunday morning, and then we got the travel before, travel afterwards, and so. We took the week off, but yeah, great week. Run camp, had about 40 athletes in town. Fantastic time, and as much as I wanted to take today off as well. Valentine's Day, Super Bowl parade, about 20 minutes from where I am. School's out, the sun's shining. There's no better place to be than right here doing this podcast. So we are here today. It's your first time tuning in today. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the Triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. In terms of Rabbles, we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. He and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes in the very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everyone in between from all over the globe. We'll use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and to drive the discussion of the day. We also like to utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question. We'll let you right in. Hey, let me take a quick pause.
Pause.
The amount of love you get when we do these questions is insanity. I just want to make it very clear. We're at Run Camp. We'll pop open Facebook for a minute before we head out for there and have a little bit of coffee. 2 requests to get in the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is very simple. What do you like most about the podcast? First one, Mike, one word. I'm like, cool. Accept. Next one, best one ever. I really like what Mike and Nick have to say. Who the fuck is Nick?
That actually.
Who is Nick? I read that, and I was both laughing, but also felt totally undervalued. I mean, do I bring nothing to the podcast? And am I just that like? First of all, and if you're going to mistake me for someone, just don't let it be a Nick. Nothing wrong with the name, but like I'm definitely not a Nick guy. I love what Mike and Nick have to say. And every bit of my thumb that was holding over the decline. Oh man, it was hovering heavy. I thought, you know what? Accept. This person will, figure out the error of the ways eventually. But yeah. So yeah, answer your one simple question, and if it isn't too much to ask, throw me a bone every once in a while. Maybe once a month wouldn't be bad. But we go in there at least once a month and do a little bit of a Q&A in the group. Lots of awesome people in there willing to take time and answer your questions about anything and everything triathlon related. We have a wide range of abilities in there and experience levels from Ironman age group champions and people that are beginners. So a lot of great people in there, and probably a lot of great Nicks too, from apparently. So get in there, answer questions. Don't be a lurker, be a participant. And we go in there about once a month, do a little bit of a Q&A, take the pulse of the community, answer those questions. That is it. We don't do sponsors, we don't do ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
I'm proud of you, man. Holding anger and those types of things is no way to go through life.
I mean, yeah, it's like I couldn't hold on to it. I was at camp, which is a healing, almost spiritual place, and I hovered hard with the thumb, and I just thought, you know what, I can't do it. I can't do it.
And that's pretty good because you got a pretty quick thumb sometimes.
I do have a quick trigger. I don't put up with a lot in that group, but that is that's it. So yeah, Robbie here. With Mike having the podcast today, but it is great to be back. Happy to be here. I always feel like when we don't do a week of podcasting, it feels like 2 months. When you do them as frequently, as consistently as we do, but we did. We had an amazing week at camp, which we always do. And it's something, if you don't want to hear about camp, then, tune out. But we always talk about it because it really is a special experience. Every camp is unique, whether it's, the Wisconsin tri camp we do, our swim camps, our tried and true tri camp in June. It's, I know a lot of podcasts, as I fill my time driving, to and from these camps, I always kind of download and a bunch of pre-selected podcasts I'm going to listen to with sports scientists and coaches and the like. And it's all data and science but very few talk about the what I think is like the most valuable piece of what we do in endurance sports is like what we get out of it emotionally and mentally. And the terrain and the location we have this run camp in is both beautiful but brutal. It's probably the best way to put it. It is beautiful and brutal. And while it tests your body and tests your limits, and I think that's why we all dive into endurance sports and are kind of addicted to it in a lot of ways, is the soul searching to an extent of where you have to go to mentally and physically. And I know you got a lot of thoughts too to share, but it was interesting when we handed out medals and superlatives on Saturday night. I think I asked for a raising. I had quite a few people tell me after they're done that they like cried, they shed tears during it. None of tears and my quads are about to fall off, but tears of just going deep. You and I have talked openly about shedding tears on runs before, because it's so cathartic and when life is so busy and so can also be so monotonous and so stressful and so overwhelming. Like we really kind of stay on this superficial level of feeling and emotions and where we are mentally. And then if we feel ourselves going down into thinking about hard things, we pick up our phone and scroll through Facebook or, do something that's got nothing to do with, taking care of ourselves. But when you're out there, no cell service on these trails, you got, probably can't even listen to music. Sometimes you're alone. It's just you, nature, hard things, soul searching, questioning things, deciding on what you have to do or not do. And a lot of people had them. And then we had obviously an amazing group of ladies come in late, Emily, Susie, Michelle, and Shannon coming in, and just like the applause it was pouring down rain. There's like applause erupting from the stairs of the lodge and people out there cheering them on. And then they all just like burst into tears when they finished. It was one of my favorite camp moments, I think, ever. And it just really was a great reminder as coaches, you and I, we look at data and numbers and workouts all day, every day. And sometimes when you do it remotely, as we do, and a lot of coaches do, you don't get to be a part of those moments. Right. And not, obviously, very few workouts or races or training days are even going to elicit that kind of emotional response, right? You're not going to break down in tears after a 30-minute. Well, sometimes some people do, for a good reason. And so it was really great for me to see is like, it's just a great reminder, and kind of as exhausting as it is to have to be on for like 5 days straight and do the things that we do during camp. It's just rejuvenating from a coaching perspective, just like, dig your heels in and try to do better, because it's just so incredibly rewarding, and you get to see the impact that it has that extends well beyond shaving a few minutes off a race time.
Yeah. I go to these camps and they're always, as a coach and an athlete, so it's really nice to be around people, and it's always energizing, and it's beautiful in that way. And then I'm kind of different because, well, I'm not super different in that way, but I think a lot of people were out there kind of by themselves, and that's the part of the athlete side of me that I crave. I don't know, there's something so weird about just being, because to me it's forced meditation. It's about figuring things out. You're out there alone and you're kind of meditating, and you're in your own breath and trying to just figure it out, And as you asked that question about, how many people out there cried, I do remember a couple of times getting really emotional. You're way out in the middle of nowhere, no one's around, and I actually, my last loop, I grabbed my GoPro and I carried it along with me, and I kind of narrated the loop. So I'm going to put together a little video on that just to kind of give people a feel of what the day was like and all that. But it was beautiful and brutal. And there's something just amazing to me about being able to pull through that. And I think that was where my emotions came from, was like, wow, man. And I was really in that space of, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I can do this. And to me, those reminders can't come enough. You know what I mean? I think we go through this sport and take just our ability to get out there and go run or do anything for granted a lot, because we just get sucked into the things about life that, that are kind of irrelevant stressors, really, and I don't know how, how to remind yourself of that, but it's so important to me, is that just being able to do this sport should be the joy in it in a lot of ways. I mean, especially as somebody that's getting older and stuff, and, I see people that are friends of mine that have been dying, or, it's like when it gets to that point, none of this shit you've been worrying about really matters. I mean, and that's like, that's an overarching life theme, I guess, but the microcosms of being out on a course like we just did and struggling and getting through those kind of things really pushes you into the moment and appreciate, just the ability to be alive, And for me, it's just so big. I'm actually reading the biography of Prince, the musician, and I was kind of talking about what ghost notes are, and he often talked about, that's a term in music where the most powerful note often is the one not played, and but anyway, he was talking. It was a lot of it is they started writing this book, and then he died like 2 months after they kind of started working on it, and he was kind of coming to terms with his mortality, and the introduction of this thing is just incredible. It's like 40 pages of what it was like to interact with him, and from an author who didn't even know him, and they got to know each other, and then he just about ready to start writing the book, and then he died in Minneapolis. But anyway, I don't know. Just for me, it's just really that soul searching, that emotion out there, and just I really felt like I was a stronger person when I got done, and I have ever since, so it's like that mysterious feeling. How do you kind of always capture it in little doses every day, and the appreciation for being able to do what we do every day? And I think that that'll carry you a lot further than having some massive goal at the end of the year. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think it's stuff that you can actually control, right? Like we talked a lot about before the podcast about, sometimes the best thing you can do is, are the things you don't do. And it's always fascinating to me when we leave these camps and you see, especially for this camp, because to me, it is little to no stress, right? A lot of the other camps, there's a significant amount of stress that we undertake, right? You got cycling routes, you got open water swimming, you got, all these different locations. So it's driving and a lot of it's worrying, about people that are out on open roads. And so it's a ton of increased stress. At this camp, you're like in a bubble, away from life, away from the world. You're not going to have the news channel on ever. People are barely watching anything on TV. It's just conversations, being outside, getting vitamin D, getting fresh air. It's unbelievable. And the impact that it has on your body, and not having that stress. And so when it gets back to like normal life, not all of our, but a lot of athletes, they put so much of what I would call limited energy, right? Like very limited, because we look at what we have to do on a day-to-day basis, and it's funny because I had myself included. You're out running, you got 30, 40 athletes, at camp doing hard things. You got to set up, there's not much to worry about. And then you got travel and I'm running, I ran quite a bit, and my recovery and sleep and HRV was like way higher than normal. I get back in town, normal day-to-day life, as a spouse and as a father, and then normal responsibilities and full day of work and reading through Training Peaks and moving things around and doing emails and being pulled all these different directions. Way more stress. Recovery straight down, about to half. Sleep, got worse, and recovery was worse. And to me, it just goes to show you, like, as much as individuals want to, because this is what triathletes do. I really think we need to add in some more quality, and we need to go harder, a lot harder. I need to do more. I need to go longer. We just need to do more. And how can we? I'm like, and I always say this, before we even get to that, right? And most coaches will tell you this on a professional level. Until you can get all the small things right, don't even worry about increasing anything. And in fact, maybe limit it, because your biggest limiter is life. Always. The stress, the responsibilities, the obstacles, the uncertainty, everything. Because it takes up so much energy. Period. And that energy takes away from your ability to do a good workout, right? Good, solid workout as intended, and also to recover, right? And so you think about the mistakes you make when you're more likely to make mistakes and make bad decisions and grab shit food and stay up too late, when life stress is high, because you don't have the mental capacity and the willpower to make hard decisions. Go to bed early, right? Or go down to a club. But at camp, it's like you have one simple mission, right? Relax, talk to people. I mean, to me, I was talking to some of the guys the next morning, right? So we got there Tuesday. I traveled before, woke up Tuesday at my mom's, and I traveled the whole day. And then you go out and then I got to camp. Beautiful day, right? So the day before, getting from work, and my recovery was crap, sleep was crap, resting heart rate was up. Get to camp, obviously responsibilities like of life are gone. Mark the whole course, and I kind of checked all the boxes you're supposed to check in a perfect day to take care of your body. I got outside. I moved. I got fresh air, right? So I got vitamin D and actual fresh air, like going outside, like people don't do anymore. Had great conversations and had great food. Next day, HRV through the roof, Recovery, highest it's been in like a month. Resting heart rate, down. I mean, and then I said that's not surprising, right? Because you checked all the simple boxes. I didn't go out and do some fantastic workout. I did what you're supposed to feel good, right? But when you get back to life and you can't always control that, right? Which you can't. You can't always have days like that because it does sound like a vacation for an athlete. But there are decisions we can make to allow more opportunities for that. And so before we focus so much on an extra watt or what aero helmet's right, or sleeves or no sleeves on our wetsuit, or maybe we should be going longer, maybe we should change things up. It's like, if you're not getting the right sleep, if you're not, big thing, if you're not being around people and making yourself do things that feel good and that fill your cup, you're not laughing on a daily basis, you're not eating right, you're not taking care of your body, you're restricting, calories because you want to maybe drop a pound, but then you can't work out worth crap because you don't have any energy. Then recovering after because you get in with your workout and you run straight to the office to sit back down and then do work. And then you wonder why you're tight and like wound up for the next 3 days and you got niggles popping up everywhere. If you can't do all that stuff, stop asking for more, right? Put your energy towards taking care of the holistic stuff. That doesn't cost a dime. It just costs extra effort in taking care of your body, reducing stress, being happier, right? Because what I always see as an athlete, and see this within myself, right? Going back from, when I used to drink and how I worked out and what I was trying to do to myself, I see that in people that I coach that are going through a hard time, that aren't happy, that are depressed, right? That are not treating themselves like they should treat. I mean, I had conversations already after camp. I just want to tell you, like, I'm worried about you because I can tell you're not taking care of yourself. And I could care less how fast their 1 mile is or how fast their 5K is. Don't care. If you're not taking care of yourself as a human, right? Because I can always tell when people are fake happy, when they're fake laughing, they're fake smiling, but they're really hurting inside. Why? Because I've been there. And I just say we need to get. I want the old you back, not for me, but for you, because it genuinely hurts me to see you this way. What can we do? Because none of it's training related. But on the flip side, it's all training related. Because if you can do things, if you're a happier person and a happier athlete, you train better. You walk into a 1 hour session happy and you're excited about what's going to come out of it, or you don't expect anything to come out of it, right? And so you just do it the way it's supposed to be done versus an athlete that's dejected or depressed or hating life, and they want this total opportunity of fulfillment from a 1 hour bike. So they go crush themselves, right? Because they're trying to dumb down a level of pain, right? And then they dig themselves a hole. So they can't do anything tomorrow, so they get right back in that cycle, right? Or they quit halfway through because they can't think they can do it. They don't think they can do it. And so, we talk about things like that and the emotional and the conversations you have, and I can't wait to see the video you have of that like last loop of the run. It is like you have all these tiny conversations with yourself, hundreds of them, I think, when you're running alone, right, for that long a period of time, about everything. And how you respond to those is very similar to how you would probably respond to some more simplistic or even some of the harder ones that you have on a day-to-day basis. And so I think it's a great example of what we can be as not just a person, but as an athlete, if we try to put more effort into synergy, right? Taking care of ourselves mentally and emotionally so we can do better in training. Because I would argue if an athlete has, the average athlete may have 12 to 14 hours a week to train. But a lot of those athletes are overstressed, overworked, under-rested, under-recovered, feeling their bodies suboptimally, that you'd be better off training 8.5, 9 hours a week and taking those extra 3 hours to devote to extra sleep, meal prep, cold shower, cold, plunge, whatever it is, boots, yoga, meditation, conversation, reading a book. Those to me are the most, like, the biggest performance gains you can get that no one talks about. You know, a new bike comes out that costs $15,000, and people want to argue about what, how the watt difference between the new Trek Speed concept and the new Cervelo P5, and at yaw, that Cervelo is at least 6 watts faster. And they'll hem and haw for days over the white paper and what can be this and which $3,000 race wheels should I get, or should I go with this, or what group set should I get? And I'm like, dude, maybe drop money on some recovery, like, or hell, like a vacation, right? Like, or some PTO, like, treat your body right on a day-to-day basis, because all these things we do, like your bike, your race wheels, your helmet, your nutrition, whatever it is, the only day you care about is one day, the race. So let's say you race max 4 times a day of the year. You got 360 more days here you got to worry about. What's gonna have the best impact, right? On your body, on your health, on everything. And so I think these events and these camps and these opportunities to do hard things are with no, speed expectation, really allow us as people and athletes to just like explore things we've never explored before. And that's when you start to figure out things about yourself that are really, really great, right? That you never thought were in there. Or as some people said after they got finished, I went to a dark place, and I'm glad that I went there because I learned a lot. And that's a place you never would have gone on a normal day-to-day, week. And so there's just so much to take from it and apply. And then the hardest thing is to apply, right? You get back to your normal day-to-day life and you forget it, right? And you don't make time because you do have all the responsibilities and you do have all the things you have to tend to. So I think I just think it's very difficult to do, but that's why it's so important, because if you can make those things work for you instead of working against you, then you can be a totally different person and a totally different athlete.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying there at the end about things you can put in instead of going out and grind. And, you also said earlier about this concept of wasting limited energy. And that one really resonates with me big time, because I think, I'm certainly not a black and white thinker most of the time. And because when you think about energy, I've heard people refer to, calories that we put in our body as the energy for our body, but we don't think about things like you were mentioning, sun and natural energy from being in nature and grounding and things like that, or stress. I mean, I spent a lot of time stretching and rolling and stuff between runs out at camp, and what I got to thinking about was, it relieved a lot of pressure that I had on my body. And if you're walking through your day thinking about your knee or your ankle or your Achilles or your sore glutes or whatever it is all the time, that's a lot of energy that you're putting into thinking. I think we can agree that, your brain burns calories when you're thinking about stuff. But like when it's a stressful thing, I feel like it goes into overdrive sometimes. And, it's not like, it's almost just like you're leaking calories. And you're leaking energy into the world because you're on just stuff that is kind of a waste, I mean, how many hours of my life I've spent on worrying about things that didn't need to be worried about. It's like, I can't even begin to fathom that one. It's always like, oh shit, oh, this is getting, and then the next month you're worrying about, and then a month later it's gone. It didn't even happen or whatever. I think a lot of us get into those traps. And to me, that's an energy sap. It's all that mental energy that we're just wasting on stuff like that. And to your point, man, like if you're 12-hour a week and you're always walking around sore or tired or kind of questioning yourself, but worried about a race that's, 6 months away, just cut it back a few hours and spend time doing things that are going to help your body feel better and get your energy level. I mean, think about if you had on any given day, you got 100% bucket of energy, doesn't it make sense to kind of ration that and maybe fill up the tank when it's half full rather than when it's on empty every day? I just think that that's a better maintenance practice, and I think you'll get more out of it in the long run. I mean, this is a question I have to ask myself, and I'm sure you've asked it a million times. Are you, like after a long weekend of weddings and travel and all these kinds of things, and then you gotta, you might have missed a workout a little bit or something, and then you got to go back and get it right back. Is that self-punishment? Self-sabotage? I mean, is that like, are you mad, like you kind of punishing yourself for having a little bit of life? And you said it, conversation. And that's what I was trying to tell my athletes. It's like, yeah, coach, rough weekend, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, just don't beat yourself up, because that's the trap. Right. That's the loop, right? It's like, oh man, I had a blast, but now I feel guilty about it 2 days later. So I got to go out and shred myself. That's just like the endless loop that isn't going to work. It's like, have some grace in your world and be like, all right, well, I'm a human. I just screwed up or whatever, but I had a good time. I don't know. You know what I'm saying though? I feel like that we get into that self-punishment cycle because, it's like we had a little fun, it's like, and then it's like, I feel too tired to go work out. So I'm going to go do twice as much, just to show myself that I can do it. But then you get that you're running on empty all the time.
One of my mom's favorite phrases when I was growing up was, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, man, like that.
And it's pretty simple, right? It really is. Like it's pretty simple. But so many people do that in training, right? It's interesting to kind of follow and track athlete decision making, going too long, going too hard, and then the repercussions, they usually don't last 24 hours. They usually last a few days. And again, like when we're talking, that's why like as age group athletes, like that's the most one of the most fascinating pieces of triathlon are that age group athletes make up 97% of the entire population of triathletes in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 3 to 5% are professionals with no job. Very few have kids. A lot of them have very few marital responsibilities, if any. It is their 100% job. Yet the 95% try to mirror that 5% in their training. By the hours they do, the intensity they do, how these people are doing this, how these people are doing that. I got the same thing. You couldn't be any farther from them if you were on a different planet. So why replicate it? And then on a more micro level, you see it within age group athletes, right? Because I would love, I think it'd be very fascinating, right? Because if you look up Iron Track, right? And I've already done it, right? Looking at Ironman Texas and coming up in April. And I don't think I have a very good shot to pit my PR of 10:32 or 10:33, but you never know. So I just like to look, where would that land me in this age group? And so you look at random names from random countries getting these times. And I would, and then you can click on their name, for the Ironman profile. And I think it'd be fascinating, and you just clicks like, a photo of them. That's it. There is no profile. It's just a shot. What I would love to see is life and average training hours. I think it'd be so like mind blowing to people and how they compare, right? So you got the guy getting first place maybe is, just turned 40, married, no kids, expendable income, 9-to-5 job, tons of PTO, all the time in the world. And you got, maybe very similar in second, and he's single, whatever, divorced, has all time, and then you got the guy in third, right? Maybe 15 minutes down, 20 minutes down, maybe. So on the podium, 3 kids, crazy job, travels 2 weeks out of the month, and has all these life stressors, right? I mean, trying to, taking kids to volleyball, taking kids to soccer up till 10 o'clock with the kid at chess club, whatever it is, trying to make ends meet. Life stress is super high. Like who do you think got the most out of it? I mean, you can argue a lot of ways out of it, but everyone's life is different, right? And we still, like, age group athletes, still all they want to talk about now, but a lot of them talk about is what pros do or what so and so did. And I'm like, you couldn't be farther from that. Like, what you need to find is your best environment. Your best environment. Period. And stop trying to train like you have someone else's life and you have someone else's environment, you have someone else's time, and you have someone else's stress level. That's most athletes' problem. 80%, 90% of athletes could solve all their training related problems and performance stagnation, right? In just reevaluating their own life from a non-training related aspect, right? And trying to make training complement their life instead of having life complement their training. That isn't even training for them. It's based around someone else, right? Mm-hmm. And so and just think about the increased level of happiness and contentment and just in value you get from knowing that it's your own journey and your own time and that's it. But now we live in this giant world of expectations and comparison with everything. It's nauseating to me as a coach. Total nausea, like just nauseating. How much comparison is out there in every aspect of life. I'm not even talking about training. I'm talking about life. It's like people on a rat race to nowhere. They had nothing out of it. But let me make sure that I'm doing better and richer and faster and look better than you. Meanwhile, they're probably miserable, right? But we spend so much time and effort scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, looking at other people like, why just not worry about what your own life looks like? Make that the best case possible. How can I make my life better today? What can I do to make my life happier today, more fulfilling today? A happier athlete is a faster athlete, period. Because if you're happier and you're more fulfilled, you take less stress into training so you can perform better, and stress raises cortisol levels and so that inhibits recovery. So you're going to have a better training session and recover better. That's how you get faster. Versus a highly stressed athlete that goes into a race and wants to do more, right? And then doesn't do the same thing to recover. Right? Your training is only as good as your recovery. Period. I had this exact comment with an athlete earlier. They commented on their ride yesterday. Super high stress week this week. So I cut this ride short. Immediately adjusted the rest of their week to all like zone 1, zone 2 and shortened some stuff. Why give more? You're just going to dig a hole, period, right? Then a hole is only, if you're going to dig a hole in training, right? Because every training session we do is so we can adapt to it, right? You always that's just physiology and how training works. You overextend yourself, right? And in some way, shape, or form during a swim, a bike, or a run, or lifting, or whatever your jam is, and then your body has to recover and adapt to be stronger to withstand the next one. But what I said there at the end has to recover to withstand the next one. If it can't recover, then it didn't adapt. If it didn't adapt, then what'd you get from the training? And instead of digging a bigger hole. And so I think it couldn't be, it's not talked about nearly enough, right? Because it's not exciting and that's not really, I can't post my extra 2 hours of sleep on Strava. Be the pillow king, max out on sleep, take care of yourself, limit your screen time, all these things are so simple, yet most people spend a lot of time doing the opposite and then wonder why they can't get faster. And, and getting outside is another one. It's huge. And to kind of cap that off is to do things that fill your cup, push your limits, and test yourself mentally and emotionally. You're talking about, you and I talk a lot about off air and on air about mental resilience, emotional resilience, trying to test yourself in ways. Every athlete wants to test themselves physically. Give me one more interval. Give it to me. I can do more. I can go higher. I think we do higher watts. Forgets goggles at pool. Forgot my goggles. No swim today. They're lost and found. Pick up a pair. Zwift crashed. No ride, no bike today.
People don't say that, do they?
I mean, it's free. It freaks out. Like, what up? Get on your bike and pedal. You're not going anywhere anyway. Get on your bike and pedal. Stare at nothing. Put your headphones in. It's okay, right? But so the same athlete that was like, if things aren't perfect, then shit falls apart. Which is why I love the fact that trail camp we had two of the most like beautiful days I've ever seen in February in Tennessee. And the next 2 days and the hard days, people are doing either a 10K or a half and a full marathon on the trails. Rain all day. And no one was like, oh, but it's not suboptimal conditions. Like, I don't think I can PR today. Maybe we should cancel it. We had a strict lightning policy, but even then it was like, we do the best we can. We're going to stay safe, but this is what we get. So we make the most out of it. And I was first I was like, crap, it's going to rain. But then I was like, you know what? This is perfect. Because it just, to me, it adds an element and a layer that, to me, allows you to rise to a different level of resiliency and toughness, because it removes your obsession with a pace or a time or a PR, because it's gone, right? Anyway, I think we talked about it even a few months ago in kind of the context of Ironman Wisconsin 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you weren't going to PR. So it was, to me, it was always 100% about the chin up. What you got from the chin up. Not what you got from the chin down, what you got from the chin up. Right? I think I even joked after that race, like, how'd them track workouts work out for you? If you weren't able to get off the bike because you just wanted to quit. It is, we avoid those things like the plague. And I think anytime you can insert them into your training, to me, that's the best workout you can do for race day. Because if you can overcome hard things, you can push things, and you can be stuck in your head, which to me is the epitome of Ironman racing, right? Everyone likes to do things in a group. Everyone likes to do things solo, or excuse me, not solo, but with other people that we love the camaraderie, we love the stuff. But when it comes to racing, a lot of people fold because they're stuck solo. I don't have a group to ride, nobody to talk to. I'm not on a group ride on this. I'm stuck in my own head. Well, shit, I'm not used to this. I'm used to distraction. I'm used to people. You're in your own head the whole time. And that is a scary, uncertain place for a lot of people to live. Because when things bad, you don't have someone to say, hey, you got this, man, you got this. You can do it. Let me help you. As you stand on the side of the road and let the same person change the same flat tire that everyone gets every single group ride. Everyone stands around for 55 minutes. And on race day, it's panic mode. Like, instead of obsessing about the metrics and the performance, obsess about how you're going to handle things mentally and emotionally, and what you can do to prep for that, because that is something that we never insert in training enough, and we avoid like the plague. And I think it's something that can go a long way in increasing performance.
I agree with that. As what I said earlier about how I liked being out there by myself, and everybody knows I kind of like training alone and just being in that space, and then it's funny because one of the things I used to talk about a lot was race energy. And because I do train alone, even though I'm out there by myself in my own head with all those people around, it feels like a damn party at Ironman for me. So it's like extra energy. And I use that in a way because it's sort of like running by somebody in the greenway and your stride picks up and you're like flying. It's like you don't want to show them that you're weak. So it's kind of like that for me. Going back to what you were saying about the pros, I just find that so interesting that, people want to be like that. There's a saying that says, don't meet your idols because it's going to be a letdown, And I think that through social media and everything like that, it's in a weird way, it's kind of created pseudo idols or pseudo interesting people. It used to be celebrities, mainly people who wrote books or were in movies or pro athletes. But now we've got all this kind of gray area of, oh, dude's got his own Instagram page. He's an athlete. He's like a big, so it's like people, like even including us. I mean, we have a podcast, and, I think that's the thing about what we do is we try to keep it, unspectacular in a way, and just more kind of dialed into being grounded. And we are this, I think that's what happens is people, I mean, we're not going to give you the 10 ways to get better all the time, but we're just kind of talking about the real shit. And so we become, we are what we are. And when people meet us, it's basically the same personality. So I think that's important. I mean, I like to follow people like some pros, but to me, it's all about just picking out what works for you. You can't watch some pro, look at the training plan of some pro and be like, I'm going to be that. Maybe, like for me, it used to be, what's that guy's name? Crowe, is it Alexander or whatever that guy is?
Craig Alexander. Yeah. Craig Crowe Alexander.
It's like, that's how I am. I don't vest myself too hard in their full name. I just kind of remember sort of who they are.
It's up in their full name.
And so one of the things that always stood out about me to him to me was his core workout. I watched it one time. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to see if I can get more into that. I haven't really done it that much, but to me, that was like a thing accessible, even though it was really hard. But I'm not going to train like that guy. Who do I think I am? Or like Goggins. I love that guy, but sometimes I just laugh at the absurdity of it. You can't, you can't be him, but I can pull out words and phrases and thoughts and concepts and things like that get me through certain things. I'm not going to be him. I'm not going to be Crowe. I can pick. I mean, the world is your oyster. You can kind of pick your own combination of things that are going to work best for you. And I think that's the beauty of it, really. Like, because, how many times have I've seen it, we all do it, right? We get into somebody and we're all in. We're going to be just like that person. And then you're like, I can't really be like that person. I have to be myself. So then you go to the next person. I like this. I like what they're saying. I'm going to go this way. Like whether it's diets or training plans or starting a business or whatever, you kind of got to figure it out on your own and through, tough situations. And there's nothing, every time I go through something like we went through this weekend, at the beginning of the day, I kind of wanted to do what I did at our last camp. Of course, it was 2 miles shorter last time and we added more elevation or whatever, but I kind of had that as a loose goal. And I quickly let go of that and started focusing 100% on connecting my brain to my ability to continue to go. And that was the exercise. I didn't expect, I mean, you're going to see it in that video, but I really it was just a struggle of inertia, and I was getting delusional. And, I even felt like at one time I was starting to look at the beauty surrounding us. And I felt a little bit like I was on anesthesia. You know how you're, when you're going under and you're telling everybody you love them and that kind of shit. But it was so it was amazing. It was amazing feeling to kind of drift into that weird world of kind of losing your mind, but still having your faculties about you. I mean, at the last lap, remember when it started pouring there at the end, or at some point, I was about 2 miles from the finish line, and I was up by the shooting range on the other side of the river up there, and it just started pouring, man. I was just laughing so hard up there by myself and in the mud, and the wind was kicking up. And is it wrong that I was kind of wishing for a minor tornado at that point? Because I was kind of like, man, that would be just epic if I had to like lay in a creek bed or something right now and get through that. The stories I could tell. But yeah, that's it, man. If you got a tough workout and you're punishing yourself, just kind of remember to tap into the survival part of your brain rather than the I want to PR this part of your brain, because PR would have done nothing for me there, but I think that I felt much better and stronger and confident coming out of that weekend than I would have, even if I would have ran a little faster on a perfect day.
Oh, for sure. And I honestly think, like, when you think about training, right? And you think about maximizing your potential, a lot of us can, I think it's important to do like an evaluation. Where am I physically right now? From a performance, aspect, how my long rides going, how my long runs doing, where am I with my swim? Am I getting more efficient, etc. But also, where am I in my ability to overcome feeling suboptimal? Right? I think we as athletes expect every taper to be perfect, and for the skies to open up, for the rainbows and unicorns to flow, and for us to wake up with, the best feeling legs and body we've ever had, because we have called this race day. And you expect your body to respond and be perfect, right? But if you've raced more than once, that that's just not the case. You're going to get what you get, and you got to adapt. And so I think it's an important skill and like just an evaluation to go through with yourself is to ask, like, where am I in my ability to overcome maybe not seeing those numbers that I want to see in the first 30 miles of the bike? What if I get out of the water and I'm expecting to see 36 and I see 39? How am I going to deal with that? How am I going to handle that? What if my legs don't have anything in them in the first 2 miles I run? How am I going to adapt to that? What if I just don't have it today? What's going to be my response? Are we going to gut it out, or are we going to mail it in and go ahead and start working on our 95 paragraph Facebook excuse for why things didn't go well? What are we going to do? What decisions are you going to make? And at the same time, if you feel like you're behind in training, right? You got a late start to your training block. You maybe had a few niggles. You missed some time of your run, or you missed some overall time period, or you got sick, or whatever it is. Or inexplicably signed up for a race you had no business signing up for. Instead of focusing so much on increasing volume that you can't increase and asking for more time that you're never going to get, start to work on the other way. All right, I know I'm not going to be at my best from a speed and a preparation standpoint physically. So how can I prepare myself to dig deeper than I've ever dug before? And can that ability, right, to be a gamer, right, to dig deep mentally, to dig deep emotionally, can I bridge that gap? Can I do that? Am I willing to do that? Do I accept that is reality? And a lot of athletes would be so much better off and faster in race day having had that conversation.
100%, dude.
I know I'm not quite there yet in my training, and that's okay.
We've seen that.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I mean, that's the other thing, right?
I mean, like, we've seen it so many times. It's unreal that people go in with the best training, and I'm like, man, they are going to dominate, and then lay a total egg inexplicably. And it's almost always from the chin up. And then you see athletes, and I'm like, I don't have any idea how they're going to finish this race. Right? Miss so much time, haven't done any work. We're just going to see how it goes, right? PR. Right? Those are conversations, right, that if you have, I think are empowering, because you know who you're going to be on race day, right? And I've prepared for every scenario and everything to happen and everything to come up. I'm prepared. I might not be the fastest version of myself, but I'm prepared. Because honestly, as a coach, I think I might take the latter every time. A little bit undertrained, fresh, but knows that in order for them to get every ounce of the, if your max capacity for the day is 100%, right, of your ability and meeting the training volume and hours and fitness. They know they only got to like 74. All right, I only got to 74. But you know what? I'm going to be a fucking 100 when it comes to my mental and emotional preparation. And I'm going to get 100% of my 74. Period. No questions asked. I may even be able to squeak out an 80. I would honestly take that athlete 9 times out of 10 over the one that got between a 90 and a 100. Fitness, did all the work, no obstacles, expects to crush it, feeling pretty good going on race day, but has done 0% mental and emotional work. So when, oh my God, coach, it looks like it's going to be warm. The humidity might be high. It might rain at 232. And I mean, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of, you know, that have no ability to dig deep because it's got to go perfect. And if it doesn't go perfect, and the first sign of the inability to hit that, you know, 90, 95, 100% of their full fitness potential, they cave. And so they only meet 70% of their 100% capacity. No, thank you. I want the one that's ready to go to battle with themselves in the course, in the conditions, in the day. I want them. I want hardworking Harry. I don't want no perfect Pat. That's just a fact. And I think most people would agree that. But we chase that, we expect that, and we obsess about that. And then when one thing goes terrible, I'll never forget. This has been over 10 years ago. You and I had this conversation way back in the day.
Off air.
But an athlete that I knew that will remain nameless. You know, it was two of them. Two, my most like classic one was, the athlete. Somebody kicked me in the face and hit my goggles, and my day was over in the swim. And I was like, what? And then, my transition was so long because I only had one. I could only find one toe cover.
Oh.
And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why? And I think the great question is like, why are we doing these? Are we doing these because we expect things to go perfect? Are we not participants in this thing called life that has ultimately shown us every day of every hour and every waking minute that we are not in control and things are not perfect and we must adapt? Yet on race day, we prepare for things to be perfect. Every bottle in its place. Every shoe perfectly, tied. Every nutrition thing and aid station and volunteer must hand off bottles perfectly. The water must be cold enough to be wetsuit legal. There must be no wind. There shall be no wind. Perfect temperatures. Body responds perfectly. Nailing my nutrition. Nailing my pacing. This, my friend, shall be race day. Instead, more than likely, it's a giant clusterfuck. You're stressed out. You forgot your bottles in your room. It's all of a sudden not wetsuit legal and you're panicking. What do I do? There's going to be wind today. I missed the first bottle on the aid station. I went over railroad tracks and then my bottle in the rear popped off. Now what am I going to do? I haven't practiced with on-course nutrition. What am I going to take in? Is it going to upset my stomach? And I'm just going to, if it does upset my stomach, what am I going to do? If I'm going to throw up, I'm going to have nausea. Do I take it? Do I not take it? That's race day. And so again, like when you prepare and you're looking at these, understand where you are, know where, try to fill some gaps to get there. Cause it's just like we talked about. If you got 14 hours, it's better to do 9 to 10 and let those other 4 hours focus on, mobility and meditation and better sleep and better nutrition and fueling. That way you can get 100% out of the 9 versus 50% out of the 14. Same can be said for preparation. Give me the 80%, 75%, 80% athlete that's 100% mentally and emotionally prepared to do whatever it takes to get it done. Over the 95 to 100% perfect Pat that will falter and fail at the first sight of a sprinkle on their Oakley sunglasses at mile 50.
Yeah. Well, what I got to say about that is, if you have a bad, tough workout today, look at it as dig deep training instead of, progression. And because it is a progression, it's just in a different way. And it's like, you got to learn how to flip a switch. Get out of it. Figure out a way.
Find one, create one, do what you got to do, but flip that, or know where the switch is and know if you can flip it and know what happens. Because if you flip the switch and the lights don't come on, you need to keep flipping. You need to find a new light bulb, right? Because if you're on the phone, I got to flip the switch, baby. Darkness.
Yeah. It's like
darkness ensues.
Exactly. It's like the first time I turned off the water to the house here, man. That was flipping a switch I didn't know if I could do. But now I just do it.
That's it. Be your own breaker.
That
is it, folks. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for coming back. We missed you guys last week. We'll be back again tomorrow, full-fledged with another hopefully good podcast from your boy Nick and your boy Mike. And the best
contact Nick.
As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you have any coaching inquiries, make sure you reach out to the coach you feel is right for you. If you need anything from Mike, he is available. You can get in touch with him at mike@c26triathlon.com. If you need anything from me specifically, Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
Or crushing iron at Gmail.
Or crushing iron at Gmail for Mike. Whatever tickles
password. Anyway, long story short, excellent podcast, my friend. I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, you will. Talk to you later.
All right, man. See you.